unexpected reunions, and the courage it takes to open old doors again. Let's begin. Early April in New York draped the city in a delicate veil of mist. Sunlight broke gently through the overcast sky, casting a golden sheen across the marble facade of the Hartley Empire Hotel, a towering symbol of luxury and power nestled in the heart of the bustling city. Lavender blooms lined the entrance, swaying softly in the morning breeze, releasing a subtle fragrance that mingled with the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee drifting from the hotel's cozy lobby cafe. A yellow taxi pulled up to the curb. Claire Bennett stepped out, her stride brisk but poised. Her ivory office dress hugged her frame with effortless elegance, and her chestnut hair, tied high, fluttered against the nape of her neck. On her wrist, her watch read 8:45 IEM, just 15 minutes left before what might be the most important meeting of her career. Claire, the creative director of a prestigious event agency based in Chicago, had been entrusted with orchestrating an international awards gala hosted right here at the Hartley Empire, a project filled with pressure and promise. She entered the grand lobby, where soft golden lighting bathed the polished granite floor in warmth. Somewhere in a hidden corner, a piano played gently, its notes floating through the space like a calm invitation. Claire approached the front desk, showed her ID, and was informed the meeting had been moved to the presidential suite on the 47th floor. Something felt off, but there was no time to hesitate. She took the access card, stepped into the elevator, unaware that the doors she had just entered would open not only to a suite, but to a chapter of her life she thought she had buried 3 years ago. The elevator hummed softly as it came to a stop on the 47th floor. When the doors opened, a dimly lit hallway stretched out before Claire, the deep crimson carpet muffling her footsteps. Abstract paintings in dark tones lined the walls like silent shadows. She clutched her iPad tighter, mentally reviewing the rundown, the timeline, the VIP list, her notes for the meeting. Ahead, a plaque gleamed in gold. Presidential Suite. She swiped the access card the receptionist had given her. The lock clicked. Claire pushed the door open and immediately froze. There was no boardroom table, no projection screen. This wasn't a meeting space. It looked more like a private apartment. Walnut floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Manhattan skyline, a black leather armchair beside an elegant desk. And seated there was a man. He was mid-conversation on a call, his deep voice sharp and authoritative. "I expect the financial analysis by Friday. That's the final deadline." Claire's heart stopped. That voice, that tone, unmistakable even after 3 years. When he turned and their eyes met, the silence became deafening. Liam Hartley. Sunlight framed his perfectly tailored navy suit, his jet black hair slicked back as always. His stormy blue eyes locked on hers, startled, unreadable. For a long second, neither moved. Liam stood abruptly, ending his call, gaze still fixed on her. "Claire, what are you doing here?" His voice held no edge, only surprise, raw and unguarded. Claire's throat tightened, but she forced the words out. "The front desk told me the meeting was moved here. They gave me this key." Liam exhaled, his brows knitting slightly. "They must have given you the wrong card." Claire stepped back instinctively, the iPad pressed to her chest. The space around her felt too quiet, too close. 3 years apart, and yet in one glance everything came rushing back with frightening clarity. The silence in the suite stretched thin, tense and fragile. Claire didn't move. She couldn't. Her gaze remained locked on the man standing just feet away, a man she hadn't seen in 3 years. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, maybe bumping into him on the street, maybe a polite hello at a corporate event, but not like this. Not in a private room, just the two of them, and a sea of memories between them. It was Liam who finally broke the silence. "I didn't expect to see you like this." His voice was low, quiet, with a hint of something hesitant. Claire tightened her grip around the iPad. "Neither did I. I'm just here for work." He nodded slowly, stepping toward the window, where soft light washed over the edge of his suit jacket. He turned to face her again, calm, composed. "I'm the one who approves all third-party contracts at Hartley Empire. If Prestige Events is handling this gala, that means you and I will be working together." His words hit like a pinprick, small but precise. Claire forced a nod, her lips a firm line. "Then I suggest we keep it professional." From that moment on, everything shifted. Though the hotel was sprawling, Claire found Liam appearing more often than coincidence should allow. He was present during ballroom walkthroughs, lighting tests, even while she was adjusting the stage mic for the opening act. He didn't interrupt, never said much, just stood nearby, close enough for her to feel his presence, far enough that she couldn't confront it. One afternoon, needing a break, Claire stopped by the lobby cafe for a latte. She turned, cup in hand, and collided into someone. Hot coffee sloshed against a crisp white shirt. "Oh no, I'm so sorry," she gasped, stepping back in panic. Then she looked up. It was him. Liam glanced down at the spreading stain, then back up at her, a flicker of amusement in his eyes. "If you wanted my attention," he said, voice slow and teasing, "there might have been a gentler way." Claire flushed, scrambling through her bag for tissues. "I didn't realize you were there." He raised an eyebrow. "You've always had sharp eyes, Claire. Funny that today you didn't see me." She wanted to roll her eyes or walk away, but her heart gave her away. Even now, even after everything, Liam Hardley had never truly left her. On the third afternoon at Hartley Empire, the New York sky darkened without warning. Clouds gathered like storm-tossed waves, thick and heavy with the promise of rain. Claire had just finished a final sound check in the Emerald Ballroom, the site of tomorrow's awards gala, when her phone buzzed with a message from her director. "Claire, backup power's down. Go to the tech office on the 47th floor to grab the emergency wiring layout. Urgent." She walked quickly toward the elevators. Outside, wind howled, spinning leaves in nervous spirals, a reflection of the unease growing in her chest. The elevator doors opened. Claire stepped in, not realizing someone was already inside. The doors closed. Seconds later, a harsh screech rang out, then bang. The cabin jerked violently and came to a complete stop. Everything went dark. Her breath caught. She turned on her phone's flashlight, the narrow beam slicing through the blackness, and landed on a familiar face in the corner. Liam. He stood with one hand braced against the wall, his features illuminated faintly by the glow. "You again," he said with a quiet smile. "Seems fate really enjoys locking us in together." "This isn't funny," Claire snapped, but her voice trembled from fear. She pressed the emergency button. Nothing. Liam lowered himself to the floor and patted the space beside him. "Sit, panicking won't help." Claire hesitated, then sat across from him, careful to keep her distance. Silence enveloped them. Only the pounding rain above and the loud beat of her own heart broke the stillness. Finally, Claire whispered, her voice tight. "What do you want, Liam? Why are you always there, everywhere I turn?" He met her eyes. "Because you've been avoiding me, and I don't want that anymore." Claire's hands clenched. "We're done, Liam. We ended this." Liam tilted his head slightly. "Then why are you still wearing the necklace I gave you?" Her breath caught. Instinctively, her fingers touched the small sapphire pendant resting at her collarbone. She opened her mouth to deny it, but Liam continued, his voice low and honest. "After you left, I looked for you. I went back to the apartment, called your friends, but you disappeared. You didn't give me a chance to fix anything." Claire turned away. "You stayed silent when I needed you the most." Her gaze met his, sharp, tear gone. "You remember what your mother said that day, don't you?" She didn't wait for a response. The pain spilled out in trembling waves. "She called me a shadow in your house. 5 years of marriage and not a child. I became the unwanted one. And you just sat there, Liam. You said nothing. You didn't protect me." Liam lowered his head, the weight of guilt heavy in his silence. "I know, and I've hated myself for it every day since you left. I should have stood up for you, not just as your husband, but as the man who claimed to love you. I failed you, Claire." Claire wiped a tear from her cheek. "I didn't walk away because of your mother. I walked away because the man I loved chose silence over standing by my side." The elevator lights flickered back on. A soft whir followed as the cabin began moving again. As the doors opened, Claire stepped forward, but Liam reached out, gently taking her hand. "Claire," he said softly, eyes locked onto hers. "This time, I'm not letting you go, no matter what I have to face." After the elevator incident, Claire returned to her temporary office, but the room felt colder than usual. Liam's words still echoed in her ears. "I've regretted it every day since you walked away." She hadn't wanted to believe it, but his eyes, his voice, they no longer belonged to the distant man she once left behind. And what terrified her the most was realizing her heart had never truly let go. She took off the sapphire necklace, set it on the desk, then picked it up, set it down again, picked it up once more, then she put the string in her pocket and pushed away thoughts of him to continue her work. That afternoon, the Sapphire Ballroom buzzed with final preparations. Claire was double-checking the VIP seating layout when the doors swung open and everything seemed to pause. A woman walked in, tall, radiant, the kind of beauty that belonged on movie posters. Her honey blonde hair fell in soft waves, and her crimson dress lit up the room like fire. Claire recognized her instantly. Vanessa Blake, a renowned actress, and someone who had once graced magazine covers next to Liam. Vanessa made her way straight to him, wrapping her arms around his neck without hesitation and kissing his cheek with casual intimacy. "Liam, I've missed you. I didn't expect to find us back where we started." Claire froze. She couldn't decide what stung more, Liam's faint smile or the fact that he didn't step away. Trying to ignore the burn in her chest, she forced herself to focus. But later, during a short break, she overheard two staff members whisper behind her. They were engaged, weren't they? Wouldn't be surprised if they get back together. Look at them. She quietly exited the ballroom, heading to the executive floor to retrieve a contract from Liam's office. As she approached, faint voices drifted through the slightly ajar door. Vanessa's voice, smooth as velvet, carried out, "I've always believed you never stopped loving me." Claire froze, the contract folder trembling slightly in her hands. Before she could move, her favorite fountain pen slipped from her grasp and hit the floor with a metallic clink, echoing sharply through the quiet hallway. Inside, Liam's voice followed almost immediately. "Is someone out there?" Claire bent down, fingers tightening around the pen. She didn't answer. She turned and walked away, tears welling in her eyes. Whatever was or wasn't said behind that door no longer mattered. 3 years ago, he stayed silent when she needed him most. And today, even without words, that silence echoed all over again. She left the building with a broken heart. Since that day outside his office, Claire had disappeared from the Hartley empire. She worked remotely, replied to emails only when necessary, and ignored Liam's messages no matter how many came. She wasn't sure what hurt more, the disappointment or the fact that part of her still loved him. One quiet evening, Claire found herself at a small cafe in Brooklyn, their old spot, the place where they once shared a slice of lemon cake and endless silly dreams. The door opened. Liam walked in, drenched from the rain. His shirt clung to him, his eyes tired, but there was no arrogance, no composure, just a man who had lost something he couldn't live without. He walked straight to her, and without a word, he dropped to one knee before her chair. His eyes searched hers, broken and pleading. "Please," he whispered, voice raw, "give me one more chance, just one." Claire's heart clenched. Part of her wanted to fall into his arms. The other part, the wounded part, held her back. "I don't know if I can trust you again, Liam," she said softly, "but I need time." He nodded. "I'll wait, for as long as it takes." A week had passed. Claire stayed away, replying only when necessary. She spent nights convincing herself that professionalism mattered more than pain. But when her manager's message came that morning, a simple request for her signature, she knew she couldn't avoid it forever. She wasn't returning for Liam. She was returning for closure. Until this morning, a message from her manager arrived. Claire, we need your signature for the final contract. The chairman requested you sign it in person at the suite. She entered the hotel with a heavy heart. Her first time back since the place reopened, an old wound inside her. The receptionist handed her a key card. Please go up to the 47th floor to Claire's suite. The chairman is waiting. Claire froze. Claire's suite. The elevator opened. As she approached the familiar door, she saw the nameplate had changed. It no longer read Presidential Suite. Now it said Claire's Suite in soft gold cursive. She opened the door and stopped in her tracks. The once luxurious but cold space had been transformed. A vase of lavender stood on the table. Gentle piano music drifted from the corner speaker. On the wall hung a painting, a replica of the one she had painted for Liam years ago. This was no longer a place for meetings or tension. It had become something else, a room shaped by memory, a quiet, intimate space that made her chest tighten. Because someone had remembered every little detail that once belonged to her. And then, from behind her, a voice, deep, steady, and unmistakably familiar, broke the silence. "Hello, Claire." Claire turned. Liam stood by the door, no longer the commanding CEO, but simply a man, his eyes soft with a calm sincerity rarely seen. "I don't expect your forgiveness," he said, voice low and steady. "But I need you to know, you're not just part of my past. You're everything." She opened her mouth to speak, but Liam stepped forward and gently placed a velvet blue box in her hand. Inside was the old wedding ring, untouched, exactly as she had left it on their kitchen table 3 years ago. "I've kept it since the day you walked away. Not because I couldn't move on, but because I never wanted to." Claire stared at the ring, then at Liam. Time seemed to slow. Every memory, every scar, every word left unspoken gathered into this one fragile moment. "I can't promise I'll never mess up again," Liam continued, his eyes glinting with emotion, "but I promise you'll never face anything alone again." Claire's hand trembled slightly as she whispered, "I don't know if my heart is ready." Liam nodded. "I'll wait as long as it takes, as long as you're still here, still willing to let me try." She nodded slowly, eyes shimmering. There was no applause, no falling petals, just two people standing in a room that bore her name, beginning to rewrite a promise they once thought was lost. 5 years later, morning sunlight poured over the small garden of their suburban home. Claire sat on a wicker chair on the porch, cradling a warm cup of tea, her eyes following two little figures racing across the grass. Emma, their daughter with soft chestnut curls just like Claire's, was picking sprigs of lavender. Beside her, Ethan, with Liam's deep blue eyes and mischievous grin, laughed as he chased a fluttering white butterfly. Liam stepped onto the porch, wrapping his arms around Claire from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder the way he always did. "I used to think I'd never have this," he whispered. Claire smiled, fingers brushing the sapphire pendant still resting against her chest. "We lost each other and found our way back. It was worth it." Inside, the sound of children's laughter echoed. Outside, sunlight danced on the lavender vines, and in that quiet golden moment, Claire knew she wasn't running anymore. She had stayed, and this time, love had stayed with her. Love. It leaves, it returns, and sometimes it rewrites itself. If this story made you believe in second chances, give us a like, comment below, and subscribe to Noah's Stories, where hearts always find their way back.